This edition of Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts, is being brought to you by Moog, official steering and suspension of NASCAR. Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. Steel Rubber, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Well, welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Now, before we jump wholeheartedly into this awesome front brake upgrade on the Charger, we've got to stop and be considerate of the condition of the wheel bearing. Now, whether you're dealing with a hub assembly or a wheel bearing or a severe duty police car like this one or your daily driver, these bearings take a beating. And if we truly want to get maximum potential from the brakes, we've got to keep those wheels true in all conditions. So John's going to show you how you can inspect your wheel bearing in your driveway and how bearings really work while I get started.
What Brian's installing over there is a Moog wheel bearing, and that's really nice because you got the premium seals right here, precise bearing, crown bearings. I mean, this is going to make nice, smooth operation. A couple of bearing diagnostics for you. You can go down and get a stethoscope like this if it's making noise. Just put it in. When your car's up in the air, you want to put it on the bearing itself, spin the wheel. You may hear some growling noise in there, but keep in mind it may go away because you're taking the load off the car. But if you're driving down the road, here's another tip. You can go to the right or left, load and unload the bearing to determine what side it's on, or also you can drive and hear the noise, change road surfaces. If the noise changes, it's tires. If the noise stays the same, it's probably a bearing. And you want to address it before it gets to the point of this right here. This whole sealed wheel bearing here came apart. You can see the bearings embedded in there. Probably was a noise and the driver just kept driving and driving. By the time they brought it into Tech Garage here, come in on the hook. Now, you may also have a hub bearing, and I'll take you over here and I'll show you a hub bearing demonstration. Now, a hub bearing is everything's inside of that. So if I take this right here and we just pop this cap off, we can go inside this hub bearing, and you can see it's supported here with a cotter key, so we'll take and we'll pull that out. Once I get that out, we'll get a wrench here, and we'll pull the outside nut, and the bearings are actually in there, and they're serviceable. So we can go back to these and actually replace these or just pack them. We'll take a look at these and we'll see what we need to do. We'll get this out, and there's the front bearing right there. And a little trick for you. I'll put the nut back on here, and if you hold down and pull it, sometimes you can get lucky and knock the whole back assembly out with one shot. That's a nice way to do that. Now, if you come over here to the bench with me, I'll show you. I actually have some bearings right here. You just want to check them. You want to make sure that there's no brindling, no kind of different, just wear and tear inside that bearing. You want to make sure that everything's all right. Once you see that, you can repack them, or if it's not all right, you can go down to the auto parts store, get a premium set here, and just replace them. But we're going to go ahead and pack these. So I have a packer here. I'm sure you remember where you push the grease in your hand and sit there and pack away. We don't have to do that anymore. Inexpensive bearing packer, stick it down in there, push down on the top, work it around a little bit, and man, that's the way to go. Just like that, it starts oozing out all through the bearings, and we're nice and packed. Then what you want to do, you simply just want to reverse the procedure. Go ahead, put everything back in the hub, get you some cleaner, clean your hub. Now, you probably heard everybody filling up the hub and the bearing. You don't need to do that. Get a little grease, put it on your spindle, go in there, and then anytime you do the job, you always want to replace the seal as well. This is our seal back here to keep the dust in for any premature failure. So we can put this bearing back in here. We can knock a new seal on, reverse the procedure, torque specifications for the nut. You won't have any bearing problems. Brian, I think he's ready for reassembly.
Okay, because we're dealing with a rear-wheel drive Charger here, we don't have a front hub assembly or front wheel bearings to deal with or splines to deal with. Literally, this wheel bearing comes off with 3 bolts right into your hand. Now, you may need to give yours a little bit of encouragement. It depends on how much corrosion this has seen. But in any case, it only comes off one way. Your new wheel bearing goes on the same way. Check and make sure the machining of your tabs are in line the same way the old one was. And the surface there that we're marrying up to isn't too dirty. Again, if you've got corrosion and oxidation in there, go ahead and work that out. You want that surface nice and clean for a perfectly level mating surface. Again, performance of the wheel bearing. The most important tool in this part of the job is your torque wrench. You've got to torque these to spec. It keeps the wheel bearing true, ultimately keeping the wheel true. Don't skip this step. Hit them once, go back and get them again. Ours calls for 50 pounds. I'm going to get it buttoned up. We're going to get ready for the brake upgrade. So stay with us on Tech Garage. We'll be back.
Here's a Tech Garage pop quiz. What is a sign of a bad wheel bearing? A, noise, B, loose steering, C, tire wear, or D, all of the above? The correct answer is A. The most common sign of a bad wheel bearing is noise, but loose steering, tire wear, and vibration are all associated with wheel bearing failure.